I've been needing myself a hat rack here, and I have searched online for many different options and haven't come across anything quite what I have been looking for. So I thought, you know what, why don't I go ahead and make myself one? So it's pretty simple to do. It is just some 1/4 inch rod, just plain steel rod. You pick it up at most any of your hardware stores, and then some horseshoes. Now you want to go with some of the bigger horseshoes. You can see it here. It's a reference to my hand. Some pretty bigger ones for your base, and in the end they will lift it off, will mount like that against the wall. And this is going to be the brim, the piece that goes inside your hat. Now you'll want to make sure you get the right size for your hat and size. As you can see, this is just a Justin cheap hat here, 7 1/4, and you see the shoe fits in there nicely. Sits in there nice and flat and keeps the shape of the hat nice, resting on the brim. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our wall mount shoe and set that down, and then we're going to take our other piece of steel horseshoe here and set it off to the side. Now you'll have to change your length of rod depending on how big your hat is or how big the brim is, but for me we're going to go with a 10-inch rod, and cut that with pretty much anything, but what I like to use is a Milwaukee bandsaw. So we're going to go ahead and cut that. Now I like to cut that on a 45 to get started for when I do my first weld, and we'll go from there. Alright, we'll set the big rod aside for now. Oops, can't have my coffee dump. We have ourselves a nice 45. Not sure if that picks up in the camera or not. That don't need to do that, but it gives you a nice starting point for setting the angle of your rod. Now I have cheated a little bit. I have the angle holder for welding that makes this part of the job much easier, much more doable when you're working by yourself. So we're going to clean up the surface a little bit before we go tacking this together. That looks good. Perfect. Got that cleaned up. Now we'll go back to setting our angle here. Alright. So, got everything lined up here. You want to make sure you have everything perfectly lined up and good to go here. But I think this will work. Alright. So, go ahead and get our ground hooked up here. Alright, it's all nice and straight. Take that off. Set that over there for now. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and just get this tacked, and then we'll take everything away, make sure everything looks good before we get too permanent like here. It's just a little tack, it's easy to cut it off and salvage it without messing the whole shoe up. So let's go ahead and get started here. Heat up a little bit. All right, that should be good. That's looking good. Set off pitch adapter. Clean that up. Now, ideally, we would be using gas with our MIG welder here to make a nicer weld, less splatter, but I do not have a gas tank here for this, so we're just using cold flux wire. It does the trick. You just have the little dots clean up from the splatter. So I'm gonna go ahead and this is looking good. Go ahead and finish this up. Alright, that's looking good. Should be all set. Cool down a little bit. Clean it up. Alright, so we have everything set here like we want it. We'll go ahead and hook our ground up, keep it from moving. Alright, let's go the warning. There we go. Alright, should be good now. Oh, that should be good for it now. Alright, now we go ahead and build the inside of that. All set on that. Alright, we are getting there. See that there? So we go ahead and clean it up, clean that slag off. clean this up with the grinder a little bit. Can never forget the coffee. Alright, so you want to take a piece of barbed wire, it's any old barbed wire, this is the heavier stuff. Cut it, make sure you start out and kind of flatten it there in the end, as you can see. You want it a little bit flat there, you don't want it twisted to sit nice against your rod. Take your pliers and just put a little bend on it, ever so slightly, just to start your wrap around the rod. Now you don't have to put barbed wire on the pole. I like to, like I said, just to kind of have a nice western rustic look to it. Just another extra touch to your hat rack. Clean up our surface here. Go ahead and we'll start on the back side so you can see it while it's on. Go ahead and set that on there, and then we'll go ahead and tack it together. Alright, let's see if this holds this time. There we go. That looks better than it did last time. So, we'll go ahead and try to fix this hot. Clean it up a little bit. Then, kind of see, I won't judge my weld there. I am not a professional, just enjoy playing. We'll then take and wrap this rod around the spoke going up. We now have our barbed wire wrapped around there. Just got to put a little tack weld down there to hold it in place. And we are just about done. ahead and clean this up, and it will be ready to paint. Alright, so I have it all tacked together, or welded together now. Cleaned it up, and you can kind of see it makes a nice addition. Having the other kind of decorates up a little bit, so just gotta brush it up a little bit with a wire brush, and then we'll go ahead and throw our paint on it and let it dry. I just use just a cheap black spray paint. It's inside. You don't have to get too fancy with it. Alright, we should be all set. We'll come back later when this is all dry, and we will go ahead and mount it. Alright, so we go from this way of mounting hats to using our new, recently finished hat rack. Find yourself a stud, make sure you have one of those, and make sure it looks nice and level. Put those screws in. Then paint your hat up. Keeps its shape, looks nice, easy to grab, and go your merry way. And if you like, you can take your lasso, hang it around, and hang your hat on it. It's a simple, easy project to make at home that looks nice and is useful.